FanDuel is the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to a practice edition of the Garden Report. Kristaps Porzingis expected to be back on Friday, and it comes at a perfect time for the Celtics offense that's been ailing over the last 8-9 games here. Dipped from 3rd or 4th in the league in scoring to 9th in offensive rating over the last 9 games here. They've tailed off quite a bit. Not in shooting. Shooting's down only about one effective field goal point over that stretch there, despite some off games like the Indiana 8 loss that knocked them out of the in-season tournament here. It's the turnovers. It's pretty plain to see. Celtics are in the bottom 10 of the league in turning the ball over now. I think they're down 18th, actually. More specifically, over the last 8-9 games, they're sitting in that 25th spot in turnover rate. 15% of their possessions going the other way. And that's been offensive fouls. That's been miscues, in transition. And Joe talked about some of the situations specifically where they're starting to give the ball away there. Here's him talking about that today.
Seems to be turnovers, but what are other things you're seeing that are, kind of pulling the offense down? Right?
Turnovers. I mean, sometimes the answer is right there. It's just turning the ball over, which can come from a bunch of different things, right? So your turnovers can be your decision making in transition. It can be not generating an advantage on the type of screen, and then you're playing 5-on-5 for the whole possession, and then you don't get the read isn't as easy. And so I think it comes down to just being able to execute versus different coverages. Being able to get advantages with our screening, and then when we're in 2-on-1 situations, making the right play.
So, as we talked about in the Garden Report last game, you look at the playmakers on the team right now. Derek White, an uncharacteristic 5 turnovers in that game. He's overall been solid controlling the ball this year, as he always is. For Tatum, the giveaways are way up. And for this team, they've started to ramp up over the last week or two here. And you look at their games played this year, they only have 2 games where they've committed single-digit turnovers. Otherwise, it's 10+ in all of them. And they've gotten up to 20 against Philadelphia on Friday, 18 in this Indiana game. So they're trying to find a way to stop that right now. And part of it, as Joe mentioned, not playing isolation 5-on-5 basketball. And part of it, just taking care of the ball and some of the high-speed situations. Of course, that Indiana game really sped up as the fourth quarter went along. And they looked like the slower of the 2 teams there, at least in the decision-making process. Now, you're into year 2 under Mazzulla. You'd like to see some of the reading and reacting offensively be more consistent game to game at this point, because that is what's holding this team back at this point. In some of their worst moments is the ability to execute offensively. And Jalen talking after Monday's game about them having some trouble getting into their sets. Things look a little clunky out there. You can see it. The spacing, Joe talks about it a lot, breaks down at times. And, of course, Porzingis is going to come back and help that a little bit. But Horford's not a bad replacement in terms of ball movement, ball control, and spacing with his 3-point shooting ability. He doesn't pull defenders out quite the same way Porzingis does, but he's able to do that. So they're in a weird spot right now. They're trying to pull themselves out of this rut. New York, a difficult opponent to do that against on Friday, one of the better defensive teams in the league, but also a good test for the Celtics to reassess where they're at right now. As Joe said, they're going to do periodically. A lot of talk about screening, a lot of talk about decision-making and reads at practice today, Sam Hauser said. And they're going to have to figure out some other ways to score when the shooting breaks down. They've gone to offensive rebounding, but they don't rank particularly high in the offensive rebounding rate, despite the emphasis on that. Free throw rate, not a strength of this team. They're in the bottom half of the league in terms of generating free throws. Part of that, their style. And the turnovers, not a strength right now either. You're not winning that differential on many nights, and they're not forcing many, as Joe talked about today. He was asked about why that is. There was an emphasis coming into this year, and part of it, he said, was the desire to clean up other areas, including that offensive rebound, and get more production in that area, and that they've turned the ball over in spots, but besides having active hands and sometimes selling out to force turnovers, there's really not a way that you can actually will that to happen, Mazzulla said. So that's another thing limiting this team's ability to get on transition, where they're really good. Right now it's mismatch hunting, post-ups, which have been good for them, and that 3-point shooting. And when any one of those go on any given night, it can be a challenge for this team to break out of some offensive lulls. And that was the case again in Indiana. It's been the case for 8-9 games now, other than a few like the Milwaukee game where they were great. And they're going to have to break out of that on Friday with Porzingis back. That's a real opportunity to do so. And we'll keep an eye on what they're able to layer to this offense after a week off here following the in-season tournament loss. Celtics aren't going to Vegas, but they'll have a long stretch at home beginning now. We'll have coverage of all that here on Celtics All Access. CLNS Media, check out Joe, Sam, Chris Stapps talking today. And we'll be back here on Friday for shoot-around, so stay tuned for that and all our coverage here. I'm Bobby Mann. This has been a practice edition of the Garden Report. We'll talk to you again soon.